Yo, what is up, everybody? Popo here, bring guys a new video. And today I just want to talk about a little Pokemon known as Raging Bolt. This Pokemon is an absolute menace, and I just want to tell you guys why it's so good. But before we go over why it's so good, let's talk about how we know it's good, right? Looking at official tournaments, this is going to be San Antonio, which has happened this past week. We see Raging Bolt had a 53% win percentage. We can kind of see what moves it was using and everything. I want to take a look at the items here, right? Assault Vest is going to be the top item with Booster Energy, Life Orb, Leftovers, and Safety Goggles, rounding it out. It's really interesting to see that Assault Vest constantly is the best item on it, and it has performed very, very well with said item. But it makes a lot of sense, right? Because it is a super bulky Pokemon, it can already output a lot of damage, and you just are bolstering its, overall survivability so it can get more attacks off. Makes a lot of sense. So yeah, we see right here, it's performing well. 52%, I always talk about this. If it's above 50%, it's doing really well. If it's below 50%, it's not doing that great. If it's at 50%, it is, like the higher the number, if it's closer to 50%, then it's performing as you would expect. Like Rillaboom did pretty poor in this event, whereas Amoonguss did exceptionally well in this event. And Farigiraf performed extremely poor in this event as well. So you can kind of see and go for that. The lower the numbers you get, if this is higher, it doesn't necessarily mean as much. Like some of the restricted is probably fine because, it's what the team's based on. But when you're going for Pokemon that are on like Wellspring at 44%, like this Pokemon did not perform well. But Serena only had 17, 56 performed well, but I wouldn't say it's like a meta call kind of Pokemon. It just performed well on a couple of teams. So you kind of got to look at that. But right now we're just looking at Raging Bolt, 51%. If we go to Birmingham, which happened a few weeks ago, we see 52.3%. I want to add that even back when this regulation was first around, Raging Bolt was even then one of the best Pokemon that you could have. It was super, super strong. I've never seen Raging Bolt in an official tournament below 50%. So we see 52.3, and if we go to Rio de Janeiro, we go down and we can see that it's at 53.9%, so 54%. Huge. That means it's winning most of its games. There weren't a lot of people in this tournament, so it's hard to judge on that. But if we go back over here, we see 137. That means players who are doing very well are going to be using it, and players who aren't doing super well are going to be using it. And it's still over that median of 50%. So that is really, really good. Whereas in Cineroar, a lot of players who aren't doing very well are going to be using it, and a lot of players who are doing very well are going to be using it, and they balance out. So there's an imbalance to what Raging Bolt is currently doing. That's kind of how you can read the data there. But it's very interesting. Why? Why is it doing so well? Well, let's just take a look at it. Let me zoom in here. If we just take a look at it, we could see that its stats are very good. Like 125 HP, 91 defense, 89 special defense, 137 special attack. But not only that, but it has its own priority attack and Thunderclap, which is huge. Huge. It's basically Sucker Punch. It's the only Pokemon that gets it, and it's electric type, which is very good because there are a lot of good water types like Urshifu, so it's able to pressure those Pokemon. There's only one type that can't be hit by electric, which is ground, and the amount of ground Pokemon that are in the format is pretty meh. There's like 3 maybe, so that means you'd have to have Ground Terra, which Ground Terra is not that good. So it's getting through by that. There are a lot of dragon types, but the advantage of this is you're also dragon type. So you get Dragon Pulse and you get Draco Meteor. And both of these attacks put a lot of pressure on dragon Pokemon. And since you do have that Assault Vest usually, which is the #1 item, no matter which one of these you go to, we see Assault Vest 47%. And if we go here, this is going to be loading forever, and it's going to be 35%. Once again, a lot less usage on this, so the variance is a lot higher. And then we already saw on, oh, that's not that's not Raging Bolt. They both have long necks. 57%. So this is tournament over tournament. So these happened on the same day. These ones Birmingham plus Rio de Janeiro. So we can't really say that the meta trended anyway. But going and looking at San Antonio, we can see that the meta trended way towards that assault vest, back over to the assault vest, I should say, because it started off pretty decent before and then went up. But not only that, but it gets this move Snarl. Snarl lowers the special attack of the opposition and is really good into some of the very good Pokemon like Caly-I Shadow Rider. So you're able to put out a lot of damage while lowering the amount of damage your opponent's doing. And with Assault Vest, you're basically not taking anything. And if you try to switch into this and take a Snarl, then you just switch in a Pokemon that's now not able to really do anything. At least if you switched in and didn't take a Snarl, you get at least one attack off. But Snarl makes it so you're not really doing that. And then it just has a bunch of other good moves. Like, it has Calm Mind. Like, it has Body Press for some reason. But, I mean, it has Electro Web, so for some speed control. It's got Hyper Voice. It's got Terror Blast, of course, Thunder, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch. So you can use it with the Assault Vest with Volt Switch, which I have seen quite a bit of recently. Charge Beam, you can increase your special attacks. So, like, there's a lot of things it could do. It even has Rising Voltage, which you can use against, Miraidons if you so please. Yeah, Zap Cannon, nobody's using that. So, you could go Zap Cannon on those Groudon teams that are using Gravity, though. Just saying, I haven't seen it, but I'm just saying. But the point is that it's really strong. And we look at the stats, very strong. Now, I want to compare it to another Pokemon that's a similar base stat total. Raging Bolt is 590. This Pokemon is actually 600, and that's Latios, right? Latios is a very similar style Pokemon, or Latios. You can use either one. It doesn't really matter for this comparison. But you could see, like, 130. So Raging Bolt has more, right? 110 a special defense, it's losing in that. The speed, 110, of course, it's losing in that. But then you look at the HP and the defense, and it's just not even close. That HP makes it so much more bulky than what Latios would be. And not only that, but like, Latios is a legendary Pokemon. Raging Bolt isn't in the game code considered a legendary Pokemon, though it's considered a Paradox Pokemon, which are its own subclass. So, like, if there was ever a format where Paradox were allowed, but legendaries aren't, you can use Raging Bolt, and that's kind of insane. So, we have something like Latios, who has had success in the past, but nothing compared to what Raging Bolt has been doing. And we're going to continue this comparison. So we're going to go to another Pokemon that was in the DLC, similar base stat total, and that's going to be Specgier. And Specgier actually has a huge special attack and huge speed stat with huge HP, but it's not used, right? This defense stat really, really makes it struggle a little bit more than maybe you'd hope, but it doesn't really get used despite being this strong and this fast. Why is that? Well, its moves aren't very good, right? It's got, like, Dark Pulse, Draining Kiss, I guess. You know, it got Shadow Ball. But, like, it doesn't have any coverage. It does also have Snarl. It just doesn't have any coverage. And Ghost typing is, in all means, considered better than Electric typing overall. But it just doesn't do the same thing, right? Its special defense is just a bit lower by 9 points, and its defense is 31 points lower, which is crazy. But it's just not as good. It only has 25 less HP too. Like, it's pretty close, but you can just see the disparity, like, the I can't even say the word, but the difference in the stats and how effective they are. Like, this is very optimized. Like, 65 attack means you're not losing a lot there. The defense, like I said, leaves a lot, but 145, 130, crazy. Just not good. Just not a good Pokemon. Just not a good Pokemon. And then the most closest comparison that you have to this Pokemon is Miraidon. You look at Miraidon, and it's just Big Boy Raging Bolt. That's all it is. It's just Big Boy Raging Bolt. It has less HP, it has less special attack, but its defenses are better. And it's obviously much faster, and it has a better ability because you can set up the terrain and everything like that. But this is your restricted Pokemon, right? If you only have one restricted Pokemon, you have to use it on Miraidon. If you don't have that choice of being able to go, oh, well, I can use Raging Bolt next to Kyogre, right? No problem. I can use Thunder now. But with Miraidon, that's it. You just have Miraidon, and that's the downfall of it. And now, like, you look at this in Miraidon, you're often, this is kind of how you're hanging out, right? This is what a lot of them are looking like right now, just to maximize your damage and stuff like that. Well, Raging Bolt doesn't really need the damage, right? You could just go like here, go modest, and like you're at 201, right? This is all maxed out at 205, so you're saving 50 EVs almost, 48 EVs that you can use in anywhere else, and you have almost the same special attack stat. Plus, if you're using booster energy, now you have a +1. So you're actually better than Miraidon if electric terrain's not up. So it's like super comparable to one of the best restricted. It's crazy. And to kind of show that, we're going to look at this. So Raging Bolt, this is going to be Assault Vest. This is going to be a bulkier set. I personally like one that has more special attack, but that's just me. But this is a very common set. This is, if you go right to this, you will see this set specifically. Just making sure you guys can see everything. Okay, so we're going up against the Calyrex. This is max attack, choice specs, Calyrex. Bro, we take 52 from Astro Barrage. 52 with 4 investment on Assault Vest. That's crazy. Now, let's look at Miraidon. 70, up to 75%. Like a 78%. So you're taking around 70 to 75 most often. And you're fully invested. Like, you're fast, you got some investment in HP and stuff. Like, but let's look at the adverse, right? We're one-shotting Calyrex back. But how about without electric terrain? We're not one-shotting it without the electric terrain. So if they just lead with Rillaboom, you're out of luck. But if we go back here, we're always doing about 50%. And even with Draco Meteor, we're still doing decent damage. This is still a one-shot with Draco Meteor, even if grassy terrain is up. So it's always a one-shot, which is nice, but you have to also survive. But yeah, so we're doing a ton of damage, and we're not taking a bunch back. If we go with Snarl, then it's not even a 2-shot. It'll never be a 2-shot, because now you have a -1 here. A -1 only does up to 35, so 44 plus 35 is not 100%. So you're good to go. Like, you're good to go. 2 Snarls does it. Snarl plus a Thunderclap has a chance. Actually, it's a 100% chance to do it because it's 54 and 36 at the min range. So you basically have 100%. It's not 100% actually, because you can roll like low 54 and then 42. I was thinking something else. But if you roll 40 and 60, which is, well in the range, it's always a KO from those. So it's basically free. Whereas Miraidon can only get 1 attack off. You go for Electro Drift in hopes that you're going to get the knockouts. You don't get the knockouts, then you take Astro Barrage. You take Astro Barrage, and it's GG. Even if you go for Volt Switch, it does nothing. Like, you're always going to be slower than Calyrex unless you go for the Tailwind. So Fake Out Tailwind. You're taking Astro Barrage. Then you're probably going for Volt Switch. And then, whatever comes in is taken out. Like, it's just a bad situation. So let's go to the next Pokemon, and that is going to be Zamazenta. Zamazenta, we do some decent damage into the Zamazenta. This is one that has no special defense investment and only a little bit of HP. I prefer going for, is it 64? No, it's 68. That's what it is. 68 speed, and this is the set I run right here, and then the rest is in here, so I should probably do that. 236. All right, so that's what I run. Let me just save that, and we could see Thunderbolt does not that much damage, and none of these other attacks are really doing anything. Well, body press has a very good chance to be a 2-hit KO. It's 92% chance, so that's pretty big. Now let's go over to Miraidon. Okay, so you can see right here, Miraidon is is taking a lot more. It is what, a whole like 10% more on the min to the max, and 20% more almost from the max damage. That's crazy. That's a 2-shot with a grassy glide. Like, that's crazy. That is crazy. So that's really, really good damage. And we could see here, it does significantly more damage, but let's turn this off and look at now it's only doing about 65. So you're not really outputting the same amount of damage if that grassy terrain comes on. You're often going to be volt switching, so it's not even a 2-shot unless you go for the Electro Drift on the second time. Then it will be, and that's considering Zamazenta just didn't get boosted up by some grass, because it's gonna get a grassy glide recovery, right? So it's never gonna be a 2-shot with Volt Switch plus Electro Drift. And if they go for the Electro Drift, then they just lose anyways. Whereas this is not gonna do as much damage, and but there's a chance that it doesn't get 2-shot with grassy terrain. It never gets 2-shot. As you can see here, it's a 47% chance, I guess. So it's still right in the range, but yeah, it goes from 92 to 47. But we just don't put out damage. So in this situation, Miraidon is way better. But once again, it's your restricted Pokemon against another restricted Pokemon, because that's what we're taking a look at. All right, we're going to start a Miraidon for this one, and this one is going to be Landorus. And we can see Landorus here with Sandsear Storm gets a 75% chance to KO. And with Earth Power, there's no question about it. If you do Terrasilize and they Terrasilize, then Sludge Bomb also gets the 1-shot, though you can get knocked out by these. It's always going to knock out with Draco Meteor, so that's something we never have to worry about. Even if the terrain's up, you can't hit it with anything else anyways, so there's no reason to even calc for it. But just know Earth Power always going to do enough. It's always going to be slower, however, so you got to keep that in mind. Even under Tailwind, your Landorus is just going to be very slow. Often they'll just Volt Switch out and go into something that can't be hit by Earth Power or something like that, so they can avoid that altogether. But that's a different story. But going to Raging Bolt, we can see here it doesn't even get knocked out by Earth Power. This is max Life Orb. I guess it's not max. Modest has a 12% chance to knock out. That's still crazy. Draco Meteor, on the other hand, does not have a chance to knock out, but once again, I personally like something that's a little higher. I go for like 201 or 202. And you can see here we have 31% chance. So that puts it in a decent range. But yeah, you're always going to take that. If they go for the Terrestrialization, you always have Thunderclap 2 to finish it off. But even after this this getting lowered, you would 100% finish it off. If Electric Terrain's up, you do quite a bit. But you can see we don't get 1-shot, so it doesn't put that as much pressure onto something like the Raging Bolt. But honestly, they are never modest. They're basically always timid. So 94%, yeah, that puts us in range for some other attacks. But the low end is 77, so there's a lot of variance on this attack. 77%, still really healthy. Grassy terrain's up. We're going to get some healing. It's still a 2-shot, but with, you know, Draco Meteor, Fake Out is basically enough to always knock it out. So really, really good. And you could just see how that damage changes here. And then we're going to go up against Miraidon, right? This is the same Miraidon that we've been looking at. So we can take a look here. We can see Draco Meteor is a 1-shot. Like, Volt Switch and Electro Drift just do no damage. Thunderclap doesn't really do too much. Nothing does much except for Draco Meteor. Of course, with the Terrestrialization, we see Electro Drift that does quite a bit of damage. And if they Terrestrialize, Thunderbolt does okay damage. It's enough to almost 2-shot 100% of the time with Thunderclap. It's really close to always 2-shotting. There's like probably like a 30% chance it doesn't. If grassy terrain is up, however, Thunderbolt is almost a two-shot, whereas, you know, Volt Switch doesn't do too much, and this is almost a two-shot as well, 16%. But if you have Protect, then it's a 0%, where Thunderbolt is always going to be a three-shot no matter what. With Grassy Glide, this is 100% to two shots, but other than that, Fake Out, Grassy Glide, then it's a two-shot, which is really good because then you're only taking one attack. But yeah, so it just has the power of a restricted Pokemon without taking up a restricted spot, which makes it actually insane. Now, here is the biggest problem. The biggest problem with Raging Bolt. It costs $100. If you didn't buy Scarlet, you just nerfed yourself. Like, it's crazy, but that's the truth. And it's very unfortunate. But anyways, guys, that is it for me. If you guys liked the video, make sure you guys thumbs it up. If you're not subscribed, make sure you guys do so. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody.